Hello everyone and welcome to Smart Course on CAIIB. Today we are going to cover Unit 7 of Module A under Advanced Bank Management. In our previous video, we discussed how Indian economy was growing at a negligible rate of 0.9% per annum. But now we know the situation is much better. We have come a long way to reach where we are today, the fifth largest economy in the world. This is definitely a result of hard work by every citizen, but all of this would not have been possible without the economic reforms that we had during this period. When we got our independence, our leaders were more inclined towards the socialist policies led by USSR. So government owned and managed almost all sectors. Even though some businesses were allowed to be run by the private sector, they would still need license and permissions from the government. Government would keep a check on what businesses are producing and how much are they producing. All of these restrictions were not doing great for our economy. Also, with the fall of our socialist guide, the USSR, and the spectacular success of market-based socialism of China, it was clear that we needed some reforms. But just like all our major decisions, we did nothing until we had a major crisis. And this crisis came in 1991 when we faced a major fiscal as well as external payment crisis. This was a time when our government did not have enough forex reserves. The problem was so serious that we had reserves only to pay our import bills for just 2 weeks. So when the problem went this bad, we had to open up our economy to the world and make major reforms in our economy. These reforms are commonly known as the LPG reforms. No, not this LPG. LPG stands for liberalization, privatization, and globalization, which means we liberalized most of our sectors and reduced government interference in context of decisions and permissions. We opened up most of the sectors for private companies, and under globalization, we allowed foreign companies to invest and do business in India. Now let's look at the details of these reforms. On the basis of sectors, these reforms can be divided into real sector policy measures and financial sector policy measures. The real sector policy measures were mainly focused on the manufacturing sector in its early stages. Under this, the industry was deregulated and strict license requirement, commonly called as the License Raj, was abolished. The public sector enterprises were overhauled and required changes were done to bring more transparency in public sector units. The role of private sector was also enhanced, through which new industries in various sectors started operations, and as we know, if private sector earns profit, it expands at a very fast rate and provides employment to more people. One of the most important reform was the abolition of MRTP Act 1969. The MRTP stands for Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Policies Act. This act restricted many business activities, so to utilize full potential of our industries, this act was abolished. Before these reforms, foreign investments in Indian businesses was not easy as it was under approval route, which means that each investment had to be approved by the government. See, foreign investment is important for a country as it not only brings the capital required to set up new businesses, but it also brings the technical expertise from experienced players who are interested to do business in India. So to allow smooth inflow of funds from other countries, the foreign investment was changed from approval route to automatic route, under which investments in most of the sectors would not need any special approval from the government. The taxes, also known as the tariffs, and other barriers were reduced to allow India to be part of global trade by the way of import and export. Another important change that was brought was to allow big private industries to work in sectors which were earlier reserved for the small scale units. This allowed more efficiency in our production. Through these measures, industries in India got a big push and started to grow at a much faster rate. Industries started to grow, new technologies were used, and through mass production, the Indian industry started to become competitive worldwide. These reforms made way to the new and booming industry of information technology, and information technology enabled services like call centers. When we opened up our economy to the new opportunities, the IT industry started to grow multifold as India emerged as a global hub from where the world would outsource its services. BPOs started to bring in business from many countries, and India's growth story got a massive boost. Some reforms were also taken in agriculture sector, which include free movement of agriculture commodities, APMC Act or the Agriculture Produce Market Committee Act was introduced to help farmers sell their produce at fair prices. Introduction of trading of agriculture commodities and allowing banks to provide loans to farmers against the warehouse receipts of their produce. So these were the reforms in the real sector. Now let's look at the reforms in financial sector. Financial sector reforms were carried out according to the recommendations made by three important committees. Please remember their names. First is Narasimhan Committee Report on Financial Sector Reforms 1992. Then again Narasimhan Committee Report on Banking Sector Reforms 1998. And S.H. Khan Report on Development Financial Institutions and Banks. Transformation of financial sector not only assisted in sharp pickup in services sector growth, but it also helped the manufacturing sector to become internationally competitive. Let's look how these reforms were done in various segments of financial markets. The first segment is money market. Money market is the market where short-term instruments like commercial paper and certificate of deposits are traded. Here, short-term means maturity period less than 1 year. Under money market reforms, market was developed for these instruments so that market players can access funds when required and can lend them when they have a surplus for a short term. Freeing of interest rates in money market. As earlier, the interest rates were kept fixed and were decided by the government. But after these reforms, the decision makers were the lenders and borrowers according to the market forces. Next is introduction of money market instruments. New instruments like commercial paper, certificate of deposit, collateralized lending and borrowing obligations, in short CLBOs, were introduced aimed at improving the system and bringing more number of participants. Next is introduction of screen-based trading of these instruments. And lastly, making call money a pure interbank market. This created an ultra short-term market where banks can easily lend or borrow overnight at a low rate of interest. Then we move to reforms in government securities market. Earlier what happened? Whenever government wanted money, it would just take a short-term loan from RBI at extremely low rate of interest. And before government would repay this short-term loan, it would take a new one to repay the debt and work on new projects. So RBI in a way had become the money tree of the government. So one day RBI said enough is enough. This won't work anymore. So reforms were brought where rather than giving short-term loans, RBI introduced ways and means advances. Don't be bothered by the term. It is just like a cash credit limit that we have in our banks. This ways and means advances replace the short-term loans that the government took. The limit of this ways and means advances is decided by the RBI after every 6 months. Now we move to reforms in foreign exchange sector. Prior to these reforms, foreign exchange market was virtually absent. This was because the exchange rates were not free to move according to the demand and supply like they do today. Earlier, the exchange rate of a currency was set by RBI. Like if one morning RBI said that $1 is equal to 10 rupees, then those who need to buy or sell dollars will have to exchange at this rate only from RBI. Unlike today, when the forex market is free and the price is discovered based on the demand and supply. Along with this, current account transactions became fully convertible and capital account became partially convertible. And this opened the doors of foreign investors to invest in India. Next is capital market reforms. Capital market is the market where long-term instruments like shares are traded. The newly formed regulator of the capital market, Securities Exchange Board of India, or simply called the SEBI, set many guidelines for these markets. The major reforms were related to corporatization and demutualization of stock exchanges, which means the separation of ownership and control of stock exchange. This is done to ensure that ownership of stock exchange does not have any influence on working of the exchange. This was done to avoid frauds in these exchanges. We shifted to screen-based computerized stock trading, which replaced the old manual system. Introduction of derivative products like futures and options. New rolling system for settlement of trades replaced the old 14-day settlement cycle. So earlier, settlement of trade would take 14 days. But in the new rolling settlement, the trades were executed and settled in T plus 2 days only. Lastly, Badla system was abolished. We know that if someone is trading, he has to make the payment for these shares before the settlement period. But earlier what used to happen, if the trader did not have funds to pay, he could ask exchanges to carry forward his transaction till the next settlement period. And this gave him more time to arrange funds, as we know the settlement period was quite long earlier. This system of carrying forward of transactions is called the Badla system. Obviously, we can see that it gives opportunity to speculate a lot without having much money in the pocket. So this system was abolished. Now we move to reforms in credit market. Before the reforms, both assets and liabilities of the banks were governed by the RBI. Interest rates were fixed and competition was almost absent. So reforms were brought to allow operational autonomy to banks, to bring more competition, to build risk management capacities, and introduce norms on capital adequacy, asset classification, income recognition and provisioning in line with the international best practices. These reforms brought efficiency along with stability in the banking system. Lastly, we have the reforms in payment systems. These includes introduction of Payment and Settlement Act 2007, which empowered RBI to regulate the payment and settlement system. Introduction of ECS, RTGS, NEFT and check transaction system. Free access policy for ATMs, which allowed ATM card of any one bank to be used in ATM machine of any other bank. These reforms made the payment and settlement system robust and sound. Now we move to integration of India with the global economy. These economic reforms that we just studied facilitated integration of Indian economy with the global economy. This increased our participation in international trade and capital inflows. India's share of world exports increased to 1.5% and the gross volume of capital inflows reached 428 billion in 2007 to 2008. Capital inflows is also called the FDI or the foreign direct investment. And the numbers for this year's capital inflows is given in the budget summary video. I hope you have already seen it because if you have not, it is very important for this exam. I will put a link to that video in this card above and also the description box below so that you can watch it after this video. Now, let's look at the important measures which led to this integration. First is trade liberalization. This includes removing the need for licensing, reduction in tariff rates, making rupee convertible on current account in accordance with IMF guidelines. Next is changes in capital account convertibility. There has been a lot of debate over benefits and problems of full capital account convertibility. Capital account convertibility can bring a lot of foreign capital into the country and help to the development. But because of full capital account convertibility, the economy becomes exposed to some risks. In fact, capital account convertibility was one of the major reasons which led to the Asian financial crisis in 1997. Currently in India, we have partial capital account convertibility. One important committee related to capital account convertibility is SS Tarapur Committee. Please remember this name. This committee recommended that India should have partial account convertibility till we manage to have some stable macroeconomic factors like low inflation, low fiscal deficit, etc. Next is new FDI policy. The new policy to attract foreign direct investment started with the introduction of automatic approval route, as per which RBI was empowered to approve investments up to a specified limit in various sectors. Presently, under automatic route, 100% foreign investment is permitted in almost all sectors, except for some categories like atomic energy, lottery, etc. Next is external commercial borrowings and portfolio investments. As the name suggests, external commercial borrowings mean borrowings done for commercial purpose from overseas or foreign countries. Access to ECB by Indian companies further integrated Indian economy to the world economy. Investments through foreign institutional investments was opened up in 1992 to allow further investment in Indian stock markets. And lastly, we have the outward flow of capital, which was slowly allowed and resulted our companies to become multinational, as these companies could now invest in foreign countries also and have presence in multiple countries. The structural transformation of Indian economy has brought improvement in terms of efficiency, competitiveness, and productivity. But still, there are some issues that remain to be addressed. These are related to poverty, health, education, and social issues. Talking about the way forward, there are some areas where India needs new reforms to continue its great growth story. First is agriculture investment. While the star performer of our Indian economy is services, but still more than half of Indians are working in agriculture sector, which is in urgent need of reforms that bring investment and latest technologies to our farms. Then next is labor law reforms. Labor laws were developed decades ago and no major change has been brought since then. Today, these labor laws needs to be updated in order to encourage our entrepreneurs to hire more and more employees and start new labor intensive manufacturing businesses. And the last one is financial inclusion. Thanks to the hard work of Indian bankers from past 2 decades, we have achieved great success in financial inclusion. Financial services are reaching far rural ends of our country and are helping to reduce the poverty. These efforts must be sustained and every citizen must be able to access financial services in a fair and cost-effective way. With this, we have completed the unit in detail and now we move to some practice questions. Our first question is, the balance of payment crisis in India happened in which year? And the answer is B, 1991. What is the full form of ITES? And the answer is C, Information Technology Enabled Services. What is the full form of WMA? And the answer is Ways and Means Advances. Commercial paper is a component of. And the answer is money market. Commercial paper is a short-term instrument and it is traded in money market. What is the full form of LPG reforms? And the answer is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. That's it for today. Don't forget to write down in the comment section how many of these questions did you correctly answer. And don't forget to share our video with your friends because it really motivates us to bring the best videos for you.